Okay, fantastic. Should we do it in German or in English?
Croatian.
Okay, we can do Croatian, but I would recommend that. Okay, so welcome everyone to our very first next customer experience event here in Vienna. I'm super excited to be here because we literally speak about my favorite team, obviously customer experience. And at first place, really thanks to the entire team because we really made a lot of effort to make that happen, a lot of preparations, organizations, and suddenly then I arrived in Vienna like 2 days ago and I realized I missed my blazers. So hopefully that's the only thing which I miss, so thanks a lot. Okay, usually as you know, the idea how we open next is by saying something smart or setting the stage for the upcoming 2 days. And my overall message will be really to avoid speaking in a superficial way and rather to speak in a productive way so that we can finally move the needle when it comes to customer experience. And when I prepared that opening panel, that opening session, I really wanted to show you something like the secret ingredients of customer experience, which, by the way, you never ever heard. Believe me, you never ever heard. So I went to my kitchen and I can introduce to you the super secret sauce of ingredients of customer experience. And I came to a couple of things. First place, omnichannel, never heard, right? Modular content, again, something super new. Gen AI, different metrics, NDA, NPS, or something else. Well, we as Pharma, when we speak about customer experience, we usually use buzzwords, right? And that might be an issue, because in other industries, as you know, buzzwords are not blindly doing customer experience, so maybe that is why we are not moving the needle in the right direction. So I would like to start the discussion with one of the greatest industries where really customer experience matters, and this is the hospitality industry. As you know, an average hotel and a super hotel, there's a huge difference, and that difference usually is generated and differentiated through customer experience. On that picture, you can see one of the greatest restaurants in the world, which is Madison 11 in New York. The story goes that Madison 11 was bought back in 2008 by Will Guidara, and at that time, that place was just a simple and average brasseria. And he transformed that place until 2020 to become the leadest restaurant in the world, literally #1 restaurant in the world, awarded with 3 Michelin stars. And it's even interesting that when we speak about Madison 11, for context, we speak about a really super fancy restaurant, where typically like a 15 or 18 meal course costs like $250, $300 US. So very expensive, very fancy. And the whole story, the whole journey, like I said, from being an average brasseria and becoming one of the greatest restaurants in the world, according to the words of the founder, Will Guidara, was triggered by one thing. Believe it or not, it was triggered by a hot dog. Not by a Wiener Schnitzel, by a hot dog. And it's interesting that back in 2012, he overheard a conversation of 4 foodies who visited New York, and they said, we visited all of the great places in New York, we are now departing back to Europe, however, we miss one single thing not doing in New York, which is trying a real, authentic New York hot dog. And immediately, Will, the founder, he got a light bulb over his head, he ran into the streets of New York, bought a classic, traditional New York hot dog, bring that back in the kitchen, and can you imagine how hard it was to convince the chef to serve a hot dog, a street hot dog in such a super fancy restaurant. However, somehow he agreed. After that, he additionally decorated that hot dog with a beautiful swish of mustard, a swish of ketchup, and served that to those 4 foodies. Can you anticipate the reaction of those foodies? They really freaked out. And from that moment, Will, the founder of Madison 11, started a journey of transforming his restaurant, of serving amazing food into giving amazing food together with exceptional customer experience. So he implemented a lot of insights, a lot of things where he actually listened to the customers and constantly tried to please guests in unprecedented ways. So that is why I would say the final message for today's meeting is that we as industry, we certainly have to outlook after all reasonable hospitality and customer experience. Even more, most probably you heard that as well, many times, and I'm very happy that yesterday we already had a discussion where many people agreed that that's not the case, that Pharma needs to be like Netflix, Amazon, Apple. Is that really the case? Because we live in a different industry. It's not for comparison. However, Pharma's industry can try better and can do better for sure. So that's why I actually came up with a couple of very interesting foundations, what we as industry really need in terms of customer experience. At first place and foremost is knowing our customer, and it's not only the ACP. Secondly is that we have to understand that our customers also expect the very same great customer experience which they also have from other services, including Amazon, Netflix, and other solutions as well. Number three, what value can we bring into the customer journeys and touch points? Very critical. Can we potentially bring a common sense of belonging? That's a tough one. And how actually to align the human and culture side empowered by tech, and not the vice versa. And last but not least, very important, time really matters when it comes to customer experience. So you certainly have to find a very good mix between doing the orchestration of a medical rep, MSL, doesn't matter who, in a perfect moment and for the perfect value. So as you all know, 70% of digital transformations initiatives actually fail. And this certainly is an issue, but most probably if you deep dive, actually the issue is that we are mainly focused on the tech side. So that's why I came up with my proposal of the global pharma customer experience blueprint, which usually should give just a super simple answer on three super simple questions, which is who, what, and how the customer is. In terms of who, no, it's not only the HCP or the primary content, it's a much wider ecosystem of different stakeholders. When it comes to what, instead of being a reactive medical rep or MSL-driven environment where actually every engagement is triggered by MSLs and reps, we should rather be proactive based on omni-channel, based on insights, based on proper customer journeys and proper touch points. And my favorite one, how, instead of that tech drives for the time being all and every engagement, we rather should actually create a company full of values, DNA, culture, which actually drives tech. And this is, I would say, maybe the most critical one. And if you don't believe in my words, maybe you can listen to the words of one of the greatest guys for customer experience in the world ever. So
you've got to start with the customer experience and work backwards to the technology. You can't start with the technology and try to figure out where you're going to try to sell it. And I've made this mistake probably more than anybody else in this room. And I've got the scar tissue to prove it. And I know that it's the case. And as we have tried to come up with a strategy and a vision for Apple, it started with what incredible benefits can we give to the customer? Where can we take the customer? Not starting with, let's sit down with the engineers and figure out what awesome technology we have, and then how are we going to market that?
Sounds familiar, right? Last but not least, one more thing, very important. Next is returning to our flagship event in Dubrovnik, May 14th, 15th. Incredible event, bigger than Vienna, much wider spectrum of teams, and if anyone needs tickets, I have them in my pocket, so just let me know. And we are also returning to Vienna, next customer experience in Vienna, October 22nd, 23rd. Tickets in my other pocket, so let me know. And last but not least, we actually just started a very interesting Pharma portal, the Next Lab, where you can enjoy great initiatives coming from Next, very inspiring interviews, webinars, podcasts, opinions, and reports. So make sure you subscribe, and if you're interested in contributing with your very own opinions, just contact us. So ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about customer experience, and let's finally move the needle. Thank you so much.